a second, I want to take another look again at that early game. Spawn, to you, the pressure that AHQ applied to get that lead.
Yeah, it was just amazing. In the end, it was all came down to their jungler again. He came bottom once from behind the turret, gave up first blood, but blew all the summoner spells. From there, you'd be like, all right, guys, I did my job. Summoner spells gone. Shove in the lane, harass them, try and win out on CS. But instead, comes back a second time, really punishes them, capitalizes on all his earlier work. From there, they continue aggression. Marn comes in this time. They lose again, and you're like, okay, maybe this is getting out of hand. We should change our focus. To hell with that. They go for a fourth attempt down there. They even bring their teleport in. And in the end, they just ran over the bottom lane. They got their carry, their primary carry, that Sivir player, and into a really good position to do work.
Man, I was so excited about this game, watching it all the time, because there was so much aggression. And it was not uncontrolled, where you sometimes think, you know, what is he doing there? And there's a fight erupting there. This was really controlled, and that was really, really nice to see.
Yeah, I think in this tournament, it's going to sound a little bit like a broken record. The TPs from top laners are extremely important, and tower dive execution with junglers early game, because the people who cannot execute on those two things have already fallen by the wayside, and we're seeing that more and more.
With Rek'Sai's early game.
That's the thing, is Rek'Sai is so good at turret dives, because you use your gap closer, you don't have to use your flash like a Gragas E flash in, and you get to just unburrow on top of them, walk up. The turret aggro and jumping is very easy, because then you just come back out after flashing. It's really easy.
What I want to see from AHQ moving forward into the semifinals is going to be utilizing the flanking maneuvers from the double Righteous Glory, from the global of Rek'Sai, from the flashes in Maokai versus an immobile champion like Azir. The second you get on him, he's dead. So we always saw some sort of line engages versus a team, and that's just not going to cut it versus an Azir, where he can just set up the Emperor's Divide and really zone you off. Better vision denial, a little bit of better vision control, and now you get your Maokai teleporting behind the Azir. Couple it with the Nautilus ult, he dies instantly. We saw none of that. If they apply that technique to their matches moving forward, I think we might have a contender.
But honestly, I feel like AHQ did a really good job against SKT and caught them sometimes.
Oh, of course.
With their pants down, SKT was like, we start a fight here. And then Sivir was coming in. They baited the fight in the top side, Tribush, for example, in the late 20, 30 minutes. And SKT is overchasing, thinking they have an opportunity. Sivir's going in from the mid lane. TP getting the kills, and EasyHoon with a huge play actually evening it out for a 1 versus 1, I think is Aussie play.
You can't be satisfied with what you got here. You need to go for more.
We want more. EasyHoon, though, watching him play is just always a big treat. He died 2 times again. That's it. Like, he has only had 1 game this entire year where he's died more than 2 times. This guy just doesn't go down, and he does so much damage while he's doing it. He did 50,000 damage this game. The next highest was Anne, the very fed Sivir, doing 29,000.
Oh, Spawn last
much higher.
Yeah, the scariest thing about this game for me is that even when you play tempo against SKT, you make one mistake and they beat you. Yeah. Every single game they win, it's just one mistake. They snowball it, take everything off the map, crush you. So that is the scariest thing if you are going to play tempo against them.
All right, well, with the group stages officially in the books, let's see how the standings shook out. With that amazing win there, SKT remains undefeated at 5-0 and heads into the semifinals as the #1 seed. Edward Gaming and AHQ Esports Club are tied at 4-1, but with EDG owning the head-to-head over AHQ, that gives them the #2 seed, and AHQ takes 3rd. And finally, at 2-3, we have Fnatic with the #4 seed and the final spot in tomorrow's bracket stage. That means we have our semifinal bracket filled in, and the stage is set for tomorrow's best of 5s. First up is Korea's SK Telecom T1 versus Europe's Fnatic, and that will be followed by China's Edward Gaming versus the LMS's AHQ Esports. So now as we look ahead to those matches, gentlemen, we've seen all of these teams in close contention. When we look first at that Fnatic versus SK match, this is one of the teams that made them bleed.
I think Fnatic is really hungry for this rematch, and I think if they don't have any kind of mental blockade, which they shouldn't have after this strong performance, they can pull an upset. I'm very sure. But again, SKT, I feel all the Koreans team are like brick walls. You just bash your head and you see it crack sometimes and crumble, but in the end, you just fall flat.
We heard Marn in the interview saying that he didn't feel very good about his matchup against Huni. So, again, when he's the big carry for Fnatic, will he be able to shore up, his laning phase against Huni?
I think he's got a good chance of doing that, especially since Huni really just threw him for a loop. It's one of those things where if Huni leaves lane, now you're going to be able to know his tendencies, be like, okay, he might be heading mid, inform Faker or Easy Hoon, which is going to be that extra strategy that they have in those best of fives, subbing somebody out. So like they now know his tendency to want to roam and snowball the game. So after playing against Huni, I don't think it's going to be as surprising.
Now let's look at the second match, Crumbs, AHQ versus EDG. EDG got the better of them last time, but AHQ again has shown us that they can really dance with these top teams.
Again, we expected them to just get better as the tournament progressed, and they have done exactly that, but there's still flaws in their closing out the game. I really want to see them learn from this. It's not the hardest thing to adapt, being able to just place a little bit more wards, buy some more pink wards. But the other thing I don't like about it is the fact that they are still very one-dimensional. Just focus the bottom lane over and over and over. I mean, they had 1 or 2 ganks in the top side, which is similar to almost all the games they played. They're going to have to switch it up because that is a very exploitable thing. If the jungler chooses to take a route to counter the bottom lane dives non-stop, it's going to get punished very hard.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for EDG to revert to how they played against LGD and just throw this late. I think that they will actually take the Rek'Sai off the board, try and force Mountain onto Jarvan, and then just stall this one out and trust that they can carry the game late. Because if they go fire with fire, I'm actually revising my opinion on how AHQ are playing. I don't think that they have enough fear to actually fail with that game sense, because I thought after 2 failed attempts of the gank bottom that they would give up on it, but they just kept going. So this team, they like just beat you with a club.
They don't see it as a failure. They're like, okay, we got a flash. It'll work next time.
Well,
It's
the
a
challenge,
doing it
right?
They
over and
also
over
see
again.
it as having the teleport advantage and really like, okay, well, we have TP, we got to do something. You got to be proactive when you face a team like SKT or EDG, and I like that about them. They're not scared.
I think that's a big thing in this tournament. The proactive team seems to be the one coming out on top, even if they're against a team where it's like the odds are stacked against them. When AHQ is being proactive, they put SK Telecom playing their game, and that's a problem for them. So I think the proactive teams in this tournament
I'm
have a
calling
big
it
edge.
today. I think that EDG and AHQ, we will see a lot of tower dives. We see successful ones, but I think also failed ones, and that will actually be a huge problem.
I think the last point as well is that EDG have to shore up their pick ban phase. We questioned it against SKT. AHQ's pick ban phase has actually looked really stellar. They have a lot of synergy in their comp, and I like the Cho'Gath pick up there. So I think that they really have the advantage in that edge.
Well, the stage is set for some pretty stellar semifinals tomorrow. Now, if you aren't able to make it to Tallahassee but still want to watch the MSI finals with fellow esports fans, Coca-Cola and Cinemark Theaters are hosting viewing parties across the United States to bring the exciting conclusion of this tournament to the big screen. For more information on the 15 theaters where you can catch the show on Sunday, May 10th, and get yourself a collectible Heimerdinger Cup, head over to lolesports.com/VP. And that does it for the group stage here in Florida. On behalf of myself, the analyst desk, and the entire broadcast team, thank you for joining us on day 2 of the 2015 Midseason Invitational, and we'll see you right back here on Saturday for the semifinals.